Do not listen to this video if you want to fit in, if you want to be mediocre. Why do I start with that, right? We have to look at the nature of what conformity is implying, yeah? What does conformity imply? Some form of suppression, right? Right? To conform is to suppress something, who we are, what we are inside. So, the vicious cycle of compression, it bears its head in the form of overstimulation, overconsumption, distraction, avoidance, right? If humanity is to begin to see what we are and the beautiful capacity that we have as beings to use our awareness, we have a beautiful opportunity in front of us. And that is to start to see through our program, to start to understand the ego and how its nature is a defense mechanism, something to protect the self, which is, in this specific situation, Justin Igliscus, or Adam blank, or Sarah blank, etc., etc. Right? We all have this ego. There's nothing wrong with the ego. The thing is, it's to be observed, watched, felt, and listened to. Because when we do that, when we stop conforming, and we stop suppressing, and we begin to see the patterns of the ego's defense mechanism, those pillars that I listed, overstimulation, overconsumption, distraction, avoidance, right? When we see and observe the patterns behind the nature of the ego, we create just a little bit of space, right? And with that psychological space, we can close some of the vicious cycles which have been inhibiting our energetic capacity. What happens when we close feedback loops, vicious cycles, pendulums that have been draining our energy, right? You know, you've heard that phrase, some people are energy vampires. Oh, what they mean there is that something in them triggers something in you to the point where you get gripped in that sense of self, that dislike of their opinions, that disagreement with their beliefs, or even that acceptance of the beliefs. All that being said, this comes to the core of seeing, feeling, hearing, understanding the nature of energy. Because the thing which creates the ego is energy, right? And the ego is limited by nature. So just bear with me. Let me be patient with me here while I build. Which is, we look at the ego, it's limited. But there's something in us, infinite, which is beyond the ego. And consciousness has been building and building throughout humanity as time. And as that consciousness has built, it's not only your brain, it's the brain of humanity. And therefore Hitler, Mao, Lenin, Stalin, etc., and Einstein. All of these minds are within you. And there's this capacity to see through the program. So what I just listed is the historical program. Those figures, they're passed away. But also there's Justin Igliscus's specific programming. So we have the historical program to look through, but also your and our specific life's programming, age 0 to 25 for me. How have parents and culture and religion and professors and friends, how have I conformed? How have I suppressed who and what I actually am by not necessarily having the energy to see through the program? Now, here's the trick, right? Because it's taken me a certain amount of suffering, anxiety, pain, lust, greed, envy, euphoria. It's taken me a certain amount of that to start to realize that there is something behind that. And as we play this game, the game is the daily watching, observing, listening, seeing, and feeling of our egotistical friction, right? It's never that you say something that triggers me, but that I heard something in a way that triggered a program, which then led to being gripped via the ego's self-defense mechanism. So that's like a leap right there from being in this victim state where you have vicious cycles and pendulums and everything of that nature which sucks away and drains your energy. Because the thing which I'm getting at, the ability to listen, see, observe, it requires a pure energy, a massive amount of energy. And therefore, you can't chase or ask, how do I increase my energy levels? The game is more so subtraction. Seeing the things, seeing the valleys, the quicksand in which our energy, our capacity to observe gets taken away. So that's the simple way to play this game and to move through life, is to observe, where is one mechanical? Where are we dull? When? What are the situations, the environments which cause us to, let me be gentle here. Do they cause us to conform? Or maybe they increase the likelihood that we feel the need to conform, right? Feels a bit more precise, that second line. Because again, it's never something happening to us. Everything, it's always happening for us. And I know that psychological switch may not be necessarily instant, but it also can become instant. How do we move through the quicksand, the grip of the ego, in as efficient of a way possible? Solid question right there. And one of the main pinpoints is conformity. Understanding the patterns, the environments, the relationships, the values, and even the essence behind the values which cause us to conform. That's a good one right there. It's not only looking at our values, but where did we get those values, right? For example, someone may say that they value freedom. And we have to look at that, right? Because there's the common definition of freedom, and then there's a more precise way to look at what freedom is, right? Common definitions: American flag, freedom, not having a totalitarian government in order, right? That's one level. But then we also could look at psychological freedom, and that is implying that one has psychological space. Without psychological space, we won't be able to observe where we are mechanical and dull and where we conform. If we had to make this a little practical, right? Just a little practical, we have to look at some pillars. We look at sleep, rest. Well, sleep and rest, same thing. We look at sleep, nutrition, exercise, and psychology. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, and psychology. If you get those things right practically, there's a drastic likelihood that you're going to have an increase in your energetic capacity, because those 4 pillars are going to lead you to becoming just a little more sensitive. And that newfound sensitivity allows for the ego, the defense mechanisms, the patterns, the themes, the beliefs, the biases, the likes, the dislikes, the preferences, the judgments, the thoughts, the feelings. That increase in energy allows for all of that to be more easily seen. And then it's harder to conform, because everything I've said here today, if you're truly listening, right? If you're not listening in a way where you're thinking, that's true listening. The game is not that you can just turn thinking off. The game is to listen in a way where you bring observation into the fold so that you watch your own thinking and you can see, oh wait, I'm thinking while I'm meant to be actually listening. To truly listen is to have your mind to be empty, unoccupied. And unoccupied is more precise. Empty, we have a lot of empty-minded people out there. But to have a mind which is unoccupied, it's a different essence. That unoccupied mind, the space, and the psychological freedom that comes with space via observing the program. Now that's true freedom. That's true freedom. So to live in a way where you're alive, vital, and truly free, there's no step-by-step process, right? But you can look at those 4 pillars: your nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, and I'm not sure what the other one is. But trust me, your psychology. Oh, okay. I hope that's been valuable for you. Just to take some time to sort of zoom out, right? And also to zoom in, but to see the structures of life, the mechanics, the habitual, dull patterns. And when we see through that, we usually are going to find out that those are just egotistical defense mechanisms actually not serving us, not aligned with what and who we are. And when you do that, you create potentially an opportunity to have more space. And that space might lead you to something which is absolutely beyond words. Something nameless. And a way that we can hint at that is energy. It's a vibration, it's a frequency, it's an energy which you just can't capture with words. But hey, thankfully, we can allow for it to move through us. And when it moves through us, we lead, we show, we move. We operate in a way which radiates that freedom. And those who are not stuck in their egotistical defense mechanisms, those who truly listen, they'll get a sense of that freedom. And when that happens, maybe one begins to go down the path themselves. I don't hope so, but I know that's what we got to do. We don't even have to do it. There's no choice. There's really no choice. So all that being said, truly appreciate you, truly. If you got some value here, whatever you thought, some curiosity, if something piqued your interest, if there was a nugget, a phrase that truly just, gave you a spark, drop a comment, let me know. I'd love to connect with you guys, even just the littlest things, subtleties. I'm thankful, I'm grateful, more than that. And last thing I'll say is I have my newsletter link in description. If this was valuable, enjoyable, insightful, you'll probably find my daily letters similar. So check that out. If you're on the podcast, drop a rating, a review. Thank you. And if you're on YouTube, a like, a comment. Again, have a wonderful day, guys. Let's go. Moment to moment.